America tells a simple story about itself, a story of freedom, a story of opportunity, a story of people who started with nothing and built a future. It's a familiar version. You hear it in textbooks, in museums, in movies, but history is rarely simple. Behind every nation, there is not only what is said out loud, but also what is quietly left unsaid. Some forces operate in silence, without laws, without slogans, and sometimes those forces shape a nation more than armies or constitutions ever could. By official historical background, the official history of the United States begins with European colonization of North America, British colonies, the War of Independence, the Constitution, gradual territorial expansion. Historians emphasize the influence of the Enlightenment ideas of personal liberty, religious autonomy, and economic enterprise. America is described as an experiment, an attempt to build a society on new principles. This is the accepted version. It is supported by documents. It is logical, but even within academic circles, it is acknowledged this picture is incomplete, because nations are shaped not only by ideas, but by patterns of behavior, collective memory, and invisible mechanisms of influence. And this is where the questions begin. Say, American history is not unique in this sense, but in its case, one thing stands out clearly. Too much is explained rationally, and too little is discussed at a deeper level. Some researchers suggest that American identity was shaped by forces rarely mentioned directly, not as a conspiracy, not as secret control, but as a set of factors that simply worked, slowly, systematically, generation after generation. Orifly, Mystery 1. Geography as a psychological force. Geography is usually treated as a background detail, but in America's case, it became an active force in history. Continental scale, the absence of ancient cities, vast distances between settlements. Some historians believe this shaped a particular mindset, a focus on forward movement, on expansion, on the idea that borders don't truly exist, only temporary stops. This was never an ideology. It became a habit, moving on, starting over, beginning again. A culture formed where the past was not an anchor, but baggage that could be left behind. Mystery 2. Religion without a center. Religion played a significant role in early American history, but not in the way it did in Europe. There was no single spiritual center, no dominant religious authority. Instead, the landscape became fragmented. Hundreds of communities, thousands of interpretations. Some historians note that this trained society to accept the idea that truth could be multiple and still coexist. Religion became a personal choice, not a state instrument. And over time, this influenced everything: culture, social norms, even attitudes toward authority. Others. Mystery 3. Economy as identity. In the official narrative, the economy is a result of development, but some researchers argue that in the United States, it became a foundation of identity. Work as proof of worth, success as a moral signal, failure as personal responsibility. This was never written into law, but it became embedded in the culture. Such a system shapes a particular kind of citizen, someone who defines themselves by results. And over time, this mindset affects everything, from education to social relationships. 2. Mystery 4. Collective amnesia. Every nation remembers something and forgets something. In American history, the act of forgetting became especially important. Generational turnover, rapid rewriting of narratives, a focus on the future rather than the past. Some scholars describe this as functional amnesia, not as a weakness, but as a survival mechanism. Memory remains, but selectively, not everything, not always. Labeling. When these elements are viewed together, a different picture emerges. America was shaped not only by declarations and documents, but by space, the absence of a center, economic logic, a unique relationship with memory. None of these forces controlled the nation directly, But together, they created a stable pattern of behavior. Nations are rarely built according to a plan. More often, they take shape from habits, from decisions made long ago, from questions that stopped being asked. Empires collapse quickly, borders disappear, but identity changes slowly. Sometimes, a nation is shaped not by its laws, but by what it chooses not to notice. Nations are not built only by laws, they are shaped by what they choose not to see. This video explores history and disputed theories for educational purposes.